Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we cut through the noise to get straight to the heart of what matters. Today, we're plunging into Henry Miller's Tropic of Cancer. Now, this isn't just a book, it's more like a literary earthquake, originally published in Paris way back in 1934, and it was actually banned in the US for decades. Pretty explicit content. Yet, somehow, it's now hailed as this undeniable classic. So our mission today is really to uncover the raw, maybe surprising insights from this novel, which honestly feels more like an immersive journey through 1930s Paris than, a conventional story.
That's absolutely right. What's really remarkable about Tropic of Cancer is how it delivers such a profound impact without a traditional plot. It's less about what happens next and much more about what is. It's just filled with these gritty observations, unapologetic honesty, and these deep philosophical reflections on freedom, survival, and just the basic nature of human experience.
Absolutely. So let's unpack this a bit. We're talking about a narrative that just throws you right into a world where art, hunger, poverty, eroticism, they aren't just themes in the background. They're like the very air the characters breathe. Okay, so our journey starts with the narrator himself. He's a struggling American writer, living, well, literally hand-to-mouth in Paris. He's bouncing between these rundown flats, sleeping on borrowed beds, often just scavenging for coins to survive the day. It sounds pretty bleak, doesn't it?
It does sound bleak, but here's the interesting thing, the paradox, really. Despite living amidst all that decay and chaos, he's intensely, completely alive in it. He observes everything with this almost painful clarity. Miller presents the poverty not with glamour, obviously, but with a kind of strange, almost brutal poetry. There's a real lack of self-pity there.
And Miller really pulls no punches at all. Life here is depicted as utterly raw. I mean, we see bodily functions, unvarnished sexual desires, emotional eruptions, mental spirals.
Yeah.
It's all just laid bare. You might expect total despair from someone living right on the absolute edge like that.
You would.
But the narrator often seems to embrace this chaotic existence with a sort of strange kind of joy. It feels like he's thriving because of it, not in spite of it. So what does this actually, mean for his daily life? How does he spend his days?
Well, it means his days are this relentless, almost vibrant cycle of conversations, philosophical rants and just endless wandering through Paris. He finds these temporary reprieves, maybe in fleeting relationships or a scrap of food or some odd bit of work he picks up. But crucially, his motivation for writing, it isn't fame or success in the normal sense. It's more like a primal need to stay sane, maybe to make sense of a world that often feels utterly senseless.
And as our narrator navigates this world, he's surrounded by this truly unforgettable cast of characters. It's almost like a surreal, gritty dance. We meet figures like Boris. He's this frustrated writer who dreams impossibly big, but struggles to actually finish anything. He's constantly swinging between soaring ambition and just crushing despair.
Yeah, Boris is a great example.
And then there's Van Norden. His entire existence seems centered around sex, constantly boasting about exploits that maybe mask a deep emptiness.
Exactly. And what Miller achieves by populating his world with these kinds of eccentrics rather than, say, more conventional archetypes.
Well, that's a crucial point. What's compelling is that Miller paints these people so vividly. They're not heroes or villains, right? They're just deeply real human beings, often unstable, sure, but completely unpretentious about it.
No one pretends to be stable.
Precisely. They're artists, drifters, prostitutes, travelers from all corners of the globe, all sort of grappling with life in Paris. You find them lost in endless philosophical debates in cafes or brothels, cheap hotels. And Miller's tone here is just fascinating. It swings wildly from, cruel humor to profound empathy, sometimes within the very same paragraph.
So it's almost like a fragmented mirror, then, where every friend reflects a different facet of the narrator's own struggles, maybe, and every argument becomes a kind of revelation of the self.
Exactly. These relationships, however messy they are, they're absolutely foundational to his journey of self-discovery.
Okay, let's move to a truly provocative and arguably maybe the most insightful aspect of the book. It's a completely unfiltered discussion of sex. This isn't presented as romance or titillation. It's really presented as this raw, undeniable human need. The narrator seems to view sex as both salvation and destruction, often analyzing eroticism with this almost clinical curiosity.
Whether he's visiting brothels or engaging in these really short-lived affairs.
Yeah, and it's vital to understand these experiences are not glamorous. He makes that very clear. They're often awkward.
And Miller doesn't romanticize any of it. He really lays bare the guilt, sometimes the sheer boredom, the mechanical routines of desire. He powerfully illustrates how sex is used as power or as currency or just as a way to feel alive.
Yeah.
Or, paradoxically, as a way to numb the soul entirely.
And this radical honesty, that's precisely what made the novel so controversial back then. But it's also what makes it feel so timeless, so relevant even now. It's not really about pleasure itself, it's about truth, however uncomfortable that truth might be.
Yeah, uncomfortable is a good word for it. Okay, so at the very core of the narrator's existence is his identity as a writer. But creating for him is far from easy. He's constantly battling with self-doubt, crushing poverty, and this haunting feeling that his words might just be utterly meaningless. His actual work involves these brief stints at a newspaper, maybe some ghostwriting, or selling odd articles just to put food on the table. So when does the true writing actually happen?
Well, his true writing, it seems to happen in fits and bursts. Often in the dead of night, maybe, or while he's just pacing through the chaotic streets of Paris. Miller's philosophy of writing is deeply ingrained here. He believes writing must be alive, you know. Messy, bold, brimming with truth, never sanitized for public consumption or, critical approval.
And he's pretty critical of other writers too, isn't he? Those who, as he sees it, sort of play it safe.
Yeah.
Writing for reputation instead of genuine revolution.
Precisely.
For Miller, or at least for his narrator, writing is an act of rebellion. It's an act of sheer survival, almost. He views Paris not merely as a city, but as this living, breathing...
Now, beyond the raw experiences and the struggle to create, Tropic of Cancer is also profoundly philosophical. The narrator grapples constantly with these enormous questions of existence, identity, purpose. He simply doesn't buy into traditional morality. He seems to view society's rules as these, artificial constructs. For him, the search for meaning is intensely personal, never collective.
Yes, he challenges pretty much everything. Religion, nationalism, capitalism, any system really that attempts to impose some kind of order on the wild, often irrational experience of life. And he finds this unexpected beauty in madness, or profound value in failure, and this unique form of freedom in just surrendering.
His reflections are often chaotic,
Yeah.
sometimes even contradictory, but they're always charged with this incredible passion. He's not pretending to have all the answers. Instead, he's kind of inviting you, the listener, to join him in questioning everything.
Right, in a way, the narrator becomes this kind of existential monk, just wandering through life with no real goal beyond pure awareness. Every pain becomes poetry, every loss becomes a lesson, every single moment becomes material for this ongoing exploration of existence.
So as we reach the conclusion of this deep dive, one of the most striking aspects is that, in a conventional sense, nothing has really been resolved for the narrator. He hasn't become rich, he hasn't fallen in love, he hasn't even finished a book, technically.
What do we make of that? It feels unsatisfying, maybe.
And that really is the point, isn't it? He hasn't achieved conventional success, no, but he has seen life in its absolute raw... This isn't a story of transformation in the typical hero's journey sense. It's much more about radical realization. The narrator hasn't fundamentally changed who he is, but he's begun to understand why he exists. Not to follow arbitrary rules, not to chase fleeting success, but simply to live fully, intensely, no matter how messy or seemingly meaningless life might appear.
Wow. So this deep dive into Tropic of Cancer truly reveals it as less a novel and maybe more a manifesto, a declaration of artistic freedom, personal rebellion, and emotional nakedness that still resonates today.
It is uncomfortable, absolutely, but also beautiful, crude, brilliant, and just profoundly human. Henry Miller utterly ripped off the mask of polite society and showed the world what life looked like beneath, in all its visceral glory.
Together we've journeyed into the soul of a man who seemed to have nothing, and yet somehow found a profound sense of everything. A man who wandered the streets of Paris and found truth in hunger, meaning in madness, and poetry in pain. What does it mean for you to embrace life fully, even in its messiest, most uncomfortable corners?
And I think this raises an important question for all of us, really. In a world that's constantly trying to impose order and predefine meaning, how much genuine freedom can we find in simply observing, accepting, and maybe even celebrating the absurd truths of our own existence?
A powerful thought to end on. Until next time, keep exploring the wild, unfiltered corners of literature. Stay curious, stay bold, and above all, stay human.